All right. Welcome back to the show, everybody. As you can see, we have a new layout. I haven't showed Jake yet. It's going to be a surprise. Um, the goal here is we're trying to attract more. I talked about how it's like age 25 to 30 something. I was thinking like we need to go for all age
Our viewers,
ranges.
that's who you guys are usually. Um,
Yeah, in the statistics, that's what it shows that our age range is, which I'm
so
thinking.
I'm just curious. I'm just curious about this. What do you think? And please leave in the comments. What would you guys What would you guys say? Would you still accept me if I said I was feeling a little bit Chinese today?
Good question. What do you guys think? Do you guys accept him?
Do you guys accept me? Because I am feeling a little bit Chinese. So,
I mean,
and please don't shoot. Please don't shoot me.
it's a demographic. Like honestly, like we need to start looking at. I think this show needs to be for all people. For all ages, all ethnicities. It's got to be. I'm trying to expand our outreach here, so I'll show you this. It doesn't have to be permanent, but I'm thinking it's gonna draw in more a larger audience, if you will. Let's see. Let me make sure I have the right window capture. Oh wait. Oh no, that's not the right thing here. Um. Oh shoot. Okay,
You
we'll
guys
we'll
at
cut
home,
this out.
we hear this a lot. Oh wait, that's not how this is supposed to work.
Yeah, but trust me, it's gonna get good. Let's see here. Okay. I don't think I actually can show you because if I have it in this mode, I'm gonna bring it over here, and then this is what you're gonna see. Um, let's see how can I do this. Okay, the audience isn't gonna see it, but you'll see it because I'm sharing my
Okay.
screen with you, so you'll see this here.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Minecraft.
Ding, 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 man.
Yeah, and with the sun going down, it's a little bit stressful, I think, because at night, things come out to kill you
Mm-hmm.
in Minecraft when it's nighttime. So maybe this isn't the most relaxing environment. But I figured this has got to get the kids, and they have their parents' credit cards and they buy like people's merch without asking their parents. It's great. They don't worry about money. They can just gamble on sites like Stake. I'm thinking this is the way we do it.
Yeah, make sure to put Minecraft in the title of this episode.
I will. I will. I'll say new Minecraft podcast, and we might start to get
Well,
some of the kids.
that's just false advertising.
Some might say that. Some might, but
You could just say like new um Minecraft theme. Um because it's not a Minecraft podcast, it just happens to be taking place.
yeah, and on a Minecraft screen, it's kind of some call it maybe a little bit cheating. Like we're not actually playing Minecraft, but we're technically not lying. It is like it's a Minecraft overlay, so.
Yeah, this must be Minecraft um somewhere in China somewhere.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about putting like China at the top of the screen just to get the double. We'd get people from China watching this, and then we'd also get the kids with the Minecraft. But I just didn't have enough time, so we're stuck with this. I'm thinking next time we hit up like the old folks' home. I don't know what kind of like stuff they might like. Maybe put up some. I don't know, like what are those little candies that old people always give out? Those little like the butterscotch. They're
Mm,
just not that good. We can just throw some of those in the background. It should help.
yeah, I see what you're doing here. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Please comment if you like it, or if there's somewhere else in the Minecraft universe, like if you want us to be in a cave or you want us to be um, in outer space. I don't know if they have that in Minecraft, but we can
I
make it happen.
maybe there's like a mod or something like that for being in space.
Well, you could just put the sky with like the moon and just have us like the moon be part of the background.
That would be even scarier, I think. Like this is like the moment where like everyone's kind of scrambling to find shelter so that they don't get killed at night. And I
Hmm.
think if it's nighttime, I'm thinking we might give some kids some nightmares. Is what I'm
Mm.
thinking. I'm thinking they're gonna be. I think that's gonna scare them.
Speaking of nightmares, I had a nightmare last night.
You did.
Hmm.
Well, what was the nightmare about?
I don't know. I think I was just choking in real life.
Oh, damn. I've never choked on anything in my sleep before. I have like, that feeling when you're falling.
Sure.
Yeah, I've had that a number of times. It's crazy the feeling when like you're in a dream and you like go off a cliff and then in real life you feel like you're falling, like you have that feeling
Hmm.
in your stomach.
Yeah.
Um,
Usually, yeah. Usually, if it's a nightmare, like I actually get scared when I wake up in real life, but this one I wasn't scared. I just was like, shit, that was okay. Now I just need to go back to sleep. Because usually they can, well, I mean, often they could fuck up my whole day basically if like my body's just like in shock as soon as I wake up. But not bad this time. I wake up my parents every time I do it. And
okay, so,
my dad always has to come check on me, like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, dude. I mean,
just
what
because you're
can I
like
do?"
choking,
Like,
like it's like you're visibly making like a sound where you're like,
no, I'm yeah. Okay, part of the nightmare is me waking up yelling. That's part of it.
damn. So
Just
that's a vivid dream. God damn.
imagine you were doing that in your apartment, and nobody could come and check on you. So,
Well, imagine if they just heard every now and then in the night my neighbors just ah, and then you're like, what's happening in there?
yeah.
Damn, that is a vivid dream though. I've like woken up in the middle of the night like you get like the cold sweats and you're like, oh fuck, it feels that real. But I've never screamed in woke up screaming in my sleep before. That would be a first.
I've probably
Damn.
done it 5 or 6 times.
Dang. Those are really vivid dreams.
Yeah, but not that scary. This one. I think it was really just my nose was congested, and I've become accustomed to breathing out of my nose when I sleep and just during the day. And so when it was blocked up and I'm not getting oxygen, I got my body like is freaking out. It's usually what it is.
Damn.
Like the worst one, I thought people were invading our house, and what was really happening is I was suffocating because I used to sleep in pitch black, so I kind of had like a tent over my bed and no oxygen was circulating in there. And then actually like the top of the tent came down and hit me in the face, and I thought someone like would like so then the thing was like suffocating me over my face on my mouth.
Damn.
That was a crazy one where I actually in my sleep I had gotten up and started yelling like out the window. It was like on the second story, and I was yelling out the window as if someone was down below trying to break into the house, and I was like, who the fuck are you guys?" And my dad literally thought that I someone was trying to break in the house. So he like went and grabbed like a baseball bat or something. And like then he came in and he's like, "Oh no, Jake just thought that people were breaking in."
Wait, so you might actually have a form of what is that called? When people
Night
like get up.
terror?
Yeah, that, but like when people like get up in their sleep, because you said you actually got up and you like were screaming out the window in your sleep, right? That's like a form of
Sleepwalking?
yeah, sleepwalking. Yeah, yeah.
I guess so.
Damn. I can imagine someone walking down the street at night and just out the window. Who the fuck are you guys? Someone's like, oh. I'm just walking.
I mean, it's like 3 in the morning. If anybody's out there, they deserve to be yelled at.
Yeah. Maybe it works a really weird job. He like has a, I don't know who would, I don't know who would start work at 3 a.m. That's either you have a night shift or a morning shift, but I don't know, somebody, he just drives 3 hours to his job, so he's just walking his dog at 3 a.m. Some dreams, though, no, I agree. Like some can really fuck like your day up. Like I feel that sometimes, especially if it's a really like fucked up dream, and then you're like, how did that come to like mind? You know, like how did I think of that? Like how did my brain conjure up like this awful, like the most awful scenario? You know what I mean? Ever?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's lots of theories about dreams and unconscious thoughts and all that. I mean, things you're afraid of, things you won't consciously admit to yourself, all that kind of stuff can leak out into dreams. Or or it could be a place that it's a portal. It's actually a real world that you're going into, and we don't even know if your brain's making it up or not.
Yeah, yeah. That's the thing that always gets me is where like if something like really fucks up happened, I'm like, what's going on here? What's happening in my brain to where like that dream occurred?
Yeah, but I mean, we can measure what's happening in your brain, and I won't explain it.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. But if it's like tied to like a something that I don't know, like emotional trauma or just something hiding in the back of your consciousness that you really don't think about. If it's something like that, it makes me think, what is going on up there? Like what's happening here? Why am I having that fucked up dream? You know?
Yeah, I mean, you probably have some belief system about what you can and can't do as a human, and depending on that belief system that you've adopted from other people, I think you kind of have to like leave out some parts of you to like fulfill this image or picture of what you think is you're supposed to be. Um, and in many cases, like if you were 100% authentic to all the stuff that was in the deep recesses of your mind, you might actually not fit into society. So like sometimes people are like, be yourself, but at a certain point, it's maybe like, well, don't do this in society, even though it might uh, feel natural. So you do have to do some like negation of yourself to commit to other people in groups, and so that kind of stuff gets packed deeply and emotionally, and then that kind of thing needs to find its way out eventually, and so it's kind of just a coping mechanism.
Yeah, yeah. See. It's weird because like, what if like dreams? I what if there was like, because we don't really know a lot about dreams, but what if there was just some weird like some weird figure that just was in charge of like, I don't even know what I'm saying. I'm just making something up on the spot here. What if there was just a guy who just it was in control of the dreams, like just some weird floating dude. I don't know, and he just decided he was just like, I'm giving you the most fucked up dream tonight, buddy, and just set like just launched them out at people. And he thought it was funny. Like he was like, what do you think about this one? And he sounds like that too. He has like this kind of like low grumbly voice, and is just a master of chaos, you know.
Yeah, that's a wild scenario you got there. I think yeah, that'd be crazy. There still wouldn't be anything we could do about it. So, and that does remind me, I don't know. I think somebody who is well versed in philosophy would be able to explain this better than me. But in Kant's Meditations, he talks about um, he has an argument for like, or a scenario. He talks about like, so what if there was all the thoughts in my head were placed there by some like evil genius, and like just somebody who is creating mischief. So like everything that you believed was actually just something that somebody or some entity that placed into your mind. Um, and through some of the logic he used, he said he doesn't think that's the case. Um, and so I'm like, yeah, I mean, starting off where he started saying, how do we know that somebody's doing that? We ultimately don't know that. And so that's just a more extreme version of what you're talking about.
I just think it's funny that there just so happened to be some other guy who came up with that like exact same idea. Like I was just over here being an idiot, just riffing off like a dumb idea that I thought was really stupid. And then there was a guy who actually said, who like was an educated professional, who said,
No,
like,
dude,
okay,
one of the most
it's
famous
not.
philosophers. Like if you're a philosophy major, you will learn about this guy every time. He's like one of the big guys,
I
Immanuel Kant. So I mean, that's kind of what it is just doing wacky shit with your mind, and then kind of once you get an interesting question like that, then really drilling into it and kind of trying to get something out of it.
I just like the fact that I like the fact that he came up with the idea, and he was always like, "No, that's stupid. Stop being an idiot. It's not. That's impossible." like it's almost like it's like if I was just in his head, like, "Oh, what if there was this guy who was just throwing out the dreams?" And he's like, "No, no, get out of my head. That's stupid. That's a dumb idea. Get out of here."
You're talking about yourself in your own head?
No, no, I just was imagining if, like, for some reason I was in his head and I was just like, oh, there's this guy and he's putting all the dreams in your head, man. And he's like, no, just get out of here. Get out of here. I'm not telling that to my colleagues. And I'm like, no, tell them. They got to know about this guy. And he's like, no, that's impossible. Get out of here. Leave. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
I mean,
damn it.
I guess the difference is you were just saying, what if this was real? And then he was doing it as like a thought experiment. So he was saying, if this were the case, what kind of things would have to be true in order for this to occur? Um,
I mean, I guess how would we know, like, if there was some guy who's just planting a bunch of things in there? What if he was this guy who does that is so smart that he knows how to even like cover his tracks. Like even like he thinks about like that philosopher and he's like, oh shit, he's on to me. I gotta place some like thoughts in his brain that throws him off the trail. Like it's not true. It's not true. Like he just like kind of throws little tidbits in there where he's like, oh, that's true. That's not. No, that's not the case.
yeah, that's quite an interesting idea. Um, I wonder if anybody has thought of that refutation.
Because we'd have to assume that the guy is like, if he is an evil genius, like, you know, one could say like, maybe he's not that smart to where he could like, you know, cover up his tracks and think about people, you know, getting on to the idea. But what if he was? What if he was so smart that he was like,
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, what I found when studying philosophy, and partially why I stopped studying it, uh, you know, while paying money, is because you could have a similar question to what you just said, how do we really know? That that answer will always be able to be asked in these different scenarios when we're talking about high level philosophical conversations. It kind of just is incredibly nuanced beliefs that follow complete logic in a bunch of different ways. And but you can always say, but how do we know? And that question potentially cannot be answered, especially under the current set of information that we seem to have available to the general population.
Yeah, I haven't taken as much philosophy as you did because it's not my major. I was thinking about doing either a minor in it or getting a PPE, which is political science, philosophy, and economics. But um, I noticed that in one of the classes. I only took two, and the second one was like a logic course, and it seems weird because like it seems like there's like two different like areas of philosophy. Like the logic class was very like it was like math. It was a math class. It felt like it's weird that like the first class was actually like maybe it's just me personally, but I liked the open discussion format better than like the logic format of like learning different equations, um, and how to put an argument into an equation. I hated that. I thought that was so it was so dull.
Yeah. I mean, it's yeah, it's just the technical side of it. I don't I don't find that much enjoyment out of it, but I see the value of it.
Yeah, I kind of felt like felt similarly. I didn't want to like make that my sole major or like I think it was the logic too that really made me think, nah, this isn't. I don't like this.
Yeah, well, I think you probably would have enjoyed a lot of the other classes.
I liked the
Heck,
first one. I did. Let's say it's been 4 months.
this dog got a haircut this morning.
This morning. Oh, okay.
It's
You know,
5:30. The dog probably got a haircut at like 11 a.m.
okay, okay. You know, it is pretty short. I should have guessed as much, I
They
suppose.
didn't cut it very much.
Okay, okay, that makes sense. 4 months isn't that long, you know. It's like
Yeah, I mean this morning though. Yeah, so get your if you have a dog, get their haircut shorter than this.
my family has a dog, but I'm off at college, so I don't have my dog with me. I no dog.
Could you hear that burp?
I did. I could hear that burp. I could.
Because I know Discord will try to not pick up things that are not voices.
I didn't
But
know
I
it
guess
did that.
if it's loud enough, I think it makes it through.
You know, I need to get a haircut kind of. I'm thinking about it. It's getting a little bit long. I've been trying to grow it out just seeing what's going to happen, but I'm starting to think to myself, I'm like, maybe it's time. Maybe it's
Well,
time.
you could get it trimmed and you can make it a lot longer. Um, just because they can like even a few things out. Because the last person to cut it so it would look good for like 3 weeks, right? And it's probably been several months. So someone can just kind of make it look better with hardly taking any off. Because I do
Yeah.
like now that it's like laying down on your forehead. I think usually it wasn't like that. So I think it's an interesting
I left it kind
take
of
on it.
messy today. I usually I didn't shower when I got up. I was kind of lazy when I went to class, and I just kind of combed it that way and just kind of like did that.
But
Usually
even
though I have it kind of like parted more to the sides. Today I kind of went like this. I don't know what I was thinking. I just was like,
I mean,
ah.
the episode that just came out, you had the purple sweatshirt on and you had a hat on, but underneath the hat, he was coming down there like at an angle. So I think that it could go that way, and you could probably make it longer if you just get it trimmed as opposed to like cutting an inch or more off.
That's a good point. I could try to keep going. It's harder to manage, you know. That's the one thing is that like when you get like there's stages of hair progression is kind of my theory. It's like especially with curly hair. I don't know about other people's hair, but with my hair specifically, there's like short, easily manageable, super easy, no problems. Then you get into territory where it's like it's getting a little bit longer, and then it's like it's hard to manage again. It's like then some days you wake up and you're just like it's just not. This just isn't right. It's not looking the way that I want it to. And then you go a little bit longer, and it's like, oh, this is good again. This is like a good length. And then it gets a little bit longer, and then it's bad again. It's a bad good cycle, and eventually it gets to a certain length where it's good, and then it just. And my theory is that if it gets long enough, it's gonna just stay in an easy, you know. I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, if it gets to a point where you can like tie it, then it's a lot easier for it to be consistent, right? But yeah, I mean, you have good days and bad days, and so it depends on when you showered and what you did when your hair was drying, and the longer it gets, sometimes there's awkward phases.
Yeah, yeah. Beards are kind of similar, you know. Sometimes, you know, you trim it up a certain way, and then you're like, I didn't like that length, and then you know you gotta wait till it grows out so you can like sculpt it a little bit more. But it's uh, it's one of those things.
Yeah, I feel like I want to teach a class on beard growth because I think I do stuff that I've never seen in videos.
You should then. You gotta share your secrets. I definitely I wouldn't think about teaching that class. I mean, for me, like I do like the bare minimum sometimes. I just use like you know just a classic razor. You put the little you know the guard on the end of it with the length, and you just go down. And then I know like you're supposed to you keep up here shorter, you keep down here longer, and you try to sculpt it to make it you know fit your jawline. Um, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, well, what something I'm doing is I'm like with my hands, I'll just like train the hair to go in a specific. I'm like grabbing the hair and pulling it in a specific direction because at a certain point it will remember which way you pushed it, and then it will start to grow that way because a lot of your hair has like a specific way that it grows. And when it's shorter, like it's in millimeters, but if it's like 6 to 8 millimeters, you can start to push it in a certain direction, but it's mainly going to sit the way that it grows. But once you get up to like 12 and 15 millimeters, you can start to like drag it towards the way you want it to be, and that way I can like start to like get a lot more volume here where my chin starts to curl underneath. Is if I pull it forward, it will actually come from the bottom, and then it will meet the hair coming down, and then it will create more it will come further out and down, so it's more like the beard is coming straight down as opposed to curling underneath my chin.
Interesting. Okay.
So these bottom
Huh.
hairs are coming out here, and then this top hair is coming down here, and they meet together, and it kind of looks like kind of like a sharp triangle like this.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. I didn't think about that. Like training your hairs, like kind of like pushing them kind of outwards. That's interesting. Huh.
Yeah, and it kind of hurts sometimes, depending on how you do it. It might feel weird, and again, just like the hair on your head, it might work for a couple weeks, and then it might get awkward, and you have to really try not to like once you've moved it from where it used to be, there might be like weird parts sticking down, and it might be tempting to shave those off. But what happens is if you let it go a little bit longer, then that long hair then becomes useful again in a different way that you're shaping it. And so you really have to try, like, do a trim, and then you really have to wait at least 3 to 5 weeks before you're going to do another trim, because the whole thing's going to look different. You're going to be combing it in a different way. You're going to be training it in a different way. You really just have to, like, get through this part where there's some parts sticking out. If you make it through that, then just do one simple thing. You're not doing too much, and then you really gotta, only trim it about every 3 to 5 weeks.
Interesting. Okay. Huh.
And then you gotta come in, instead of like with like the guards coming through like every single hair, all you'll do is you'll have just the razor by itself with no guard, and then you'll comb it the way you want it. And then if you want it shorter, all you'll do is you'll make it shorter just by chopping off parts of the bottom. But all the hair that's up here on your cheeks, that will grow longer, and then you will have the appearance of a longer beard, even though when you're trimming some of these hairs down here, it's actually a lot shorter. So there's like a difference in length in this chin part as opposed to the cheeks in here, especially here on the front side of the chin.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. I haven't heard I've heard of the trimming the bottom thing before. I've never heard of sculpting the beard with your hands and like trying to get the hairs to go straight rather than curl underneath. That
Yeah, and if you do train it, it will be easier to do the trimming at the bottom, because it's all sticking straight out, and so you can just come straight in on it, as opposed to like on your beard, it's curling under. So if you're coming at it this way, it's kind of hard to cut a hair if you're coming at it like this.
Yeah, okay. Huh. I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna give it a shot. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fun experiment. It takes a few days, so you gotta be willing to wait and have it sticking out, but that's fine.
And for those of you, watching, basically to pay for this information now, you have to subscribe. It's free, completely free. You can like it too. You can hit that little bell button, let you know when the next episode's coming out. It's gonna be great, but you gotta pay for the. We fed you free information, and that goes like for all the like all the Minecraft stands out there too. Oh, the Minecraft! Oh, it's so great! And they came, and now they have to. You have to subscribe and buy our merch later.
We want to get to 10 subscribers by the end of this video.
That's right. That's right. And maybe if we hit 15 subscribers, we'll play Minecraft for one of the podcast episodes. I don't know how we'll set that up, but we'll play some Minecraft.
All right. Yeah, I think I have it on my computer.
I do too. I've got it.
All right. So yeah, thanks for watching. Whatever nationality you identify with is okay with me. And we'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time. All right, everyone. Welcome back to the show, the show about the show. What's gonna happen? Well, actually, I shouldn't have said that, honestly, because so what we're gonna do is last episode we got copyright striked, and the video just got.
Well, you gotta
banned.
realize where we are, because we're just coming from the other episode, so that we already know.
True. I guess this kind of is a new episode, but it's pretty much the same episode. I guess it's all gonna be one video, I guess. So, but our video got banned worldwide, so we had to take out like pretty much most of the episode. Joe Rogan just is going around just banning people, I know it was him too. I think he individually targeted our channel and striked it. That's what I think. That's my theory.
Because we're too big. He's got too big of an audience.
Yeah, I think he was afraid we were gonna like we get so many views that what if no one watches his videos anymore if they're just watching us. Um, yeah.
So, do you know that one of the most important scientific figures in the field of chemistry married a 13-year-old?
No,
And I'm pretty sure Gandhi also married a 13-year-old. So,
I
if
think
we
I've heard
know
about that.
anything,
Yeah.
if we know anything based on that data, that if you want to be a prominent figure in the world, you might have to do something like that.
You know, I think I know where you're going with this. You know, for all we know, Joe Rogan banned the last episode because he was afraid we were on to him. I'm just
That
putting it out there. I mean, like I think he knew. He knew we were going to release that information.
Yeah, but this guy, he was a scientist, and he married a 13-year-old because her family was rich, and that meant that he could invent scientific tools to test certain theories of his, and so he was successful because at the time a lot of this scientific instrumentation didn't exist.
You know, the thing is, he could have just married some other, an age appropriate rich person. Like I would say that guy, like if he can't find an adult woman that's rich, and so he's making deals with like families to marry their underage daughter. That's so fucked up. That dude has it's negative riz, in my opinion. That's a loser. A loser does that.
Yeah, well, contrary to modern culture, at the time it was because this was in the 1700s, was a lot more common for people to get married at younger ages because the amount of time a single individual was surviving was much, much less than it is today.
Although that is true, I still think the guy's a loser.
He's one of the historical figures of scientific history.
I mean, that might be true. I still think he's a loser, though. I think huge loser. I think, yeah, I just think like a negative riz for that guy. Yeah. I came home today, and I wanted to mention this because I want to ask you this too. Like, if this is a common thing, but like I've always noticed, and even when I was living back home, right before I moved off to my apartment here at college, whenever I was walking home, right from my car, and it just happened today, and it reminded me like this happens. I'll smell a food that my neighbors are cooking, and sometimes it's just like, damn, that smells good. Like, and you want to like knock on the door and be like, can I come in and can I just sit down and eat with you guys? Like, can I just have some of that? Do you know what I mean?
I don't know. I mean, if you feel like doing that, then you should do it.
I mean, I feel like at that point you'd have to move. Like, you'd just be such a weirdo. Like, everyone would just be like, don't ever talk to that guy ever. He just wants your food. He's gonna want to come into your house. Get him out of here, is what people are gonna think.
Yeah.
The problem is that like I don't even know how to describe this, but like something that upsets me is that like the smells. How do I put this? The smells of this place aren't as good as the smells of the place where I used to live. I don't know how I know that sounds weird. I know that sounds strange, but like back at the townhouse when I was living with my parents, right? You're walking home, you get the smells, right? You're getting the smells, and it was just good. I don't know how to describe it. Everyone who lived in that building was like a culinary chef or something. The smells were so good. And I moved here, and like it's still every now and then. Like today, there was something good cooking, but it's never as good as those. Like there was like every single type of food. Sometimes I think it was like Thai food you could smell. You could find smell like Mexican food. You smell like pastas. You could smell different people were cooking different stuff up. It was great. And you'd walk home and you'd want to just like knock on the door and be like, please, can I like just taste some of this food? But I don't know. That's something that I've noticed.
Yeah, I mean, we live in communities and people are good at cooking, and there's always a way to frame certain peculiar social interactions in socially acceptable ways. It's just you got to be creative.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I just like it's a weird thing to say out loud, like the smell of a place, I suppose. But it's not the smell of a place. It's just the food that was cooking. But I probably bet there's like a correlation with like this is a college. A lot of college students live in this area. It's not a college town necessarily, but it's like there's a lot of college students like me that live here. So statistically, the food is gonna be less good, on average. I think.
Why? Why it's gonna be less good?
I think because like I've noticed it with myself too. It's like when you're in college, you just make up what you can. You know what I mean? You kind of sometimes you do some like big cooking, but most of the time you're just kind of like sometimes quick meals. I don't know.
You think that because you do that, that everyone does that?
Well, no, I guess it's like a stereotype a little bit, but I know a lot of people who I've heard some stories of some interesting creations that people have put together. We're talking like chicken nugget parmesan.
Just putting Parmesan cheese on chicken nuggets?
No, like you know how there's like a chicken parmesan that people make. It's like that,
They put
except
cheese inside a chicken? Yeah.
yeah, and then you got the sauce on top. I don't know if it's actually Italian. It's supposed to be Italian, I guess. I don't know if it actually is like an Italian originated recipe, but people sometimes use chicken nuggets. Um,
So you think that everyone does that? I mean, it's possible. Why do you think that is? Why do you think people don't eat as fresh?
I think it really is a time crunch. You know that like finances can go into it. A time crunch can go into it. I've kind of noticed some of those things. You know what I mean? Like you're just trying to do something quick, easy. Not too expensive. You're just trying to keep things
Yeah,
under
but I mean,
wraps.
isn't somebody working a full-time job spending more time working than a college student is going to class and studying?
Yeah, I guess so. Maybe it's partially like an income thing, partially like a weird scheduling, because like when you work, you come home, your work's done, then you have the night. You're a college student, you kind of have like classes at weird times throughout the day. The next quarter or semester, depending on what you're on, is going to be completely different. So that your whole entire schedule is kind of has to be a little varied throughout different points in the year. And then you got homework when you come home, and then you're trying to balance that with like your free time, and so the schedule I think is just naturally a little bit more chaotic.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's less pressure on college students, and often the less pressure will be the additional time will be put into leisure activities or often into recreational drug use and alcohol use. So I there is like looser bounds on the requirements for the people, and the extra amount of time and energy often goes into things that are not building towards long-term goals.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, definitely. It's it's uh it's weird too because it's balancing all those things. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't abstain from like alcohol, but it's interesting like the balance of everything. Even just like doing your hobbies. You know what I mean? Like things that I like to do. It's Wait, what was that? I don't know how I heard that. I thought that was like a Windows startup screen. I thought that was like, the like like that like distorted sound that used to play whenever the old Windows load up.
Yeah, you were saying something about hobbies?
Yeah, yeah, even balancing that, you know what I mean? Like there's like you'll hang out with like friends, and then you'll try to like balance like, like your personal interests, like music and stuff like that. So
Geometry.
there's geometry. I can't say I personally do that in my spare time, but I mean, to each their own. If someone is I don't even know, like someone who even likes geometry. I don't even think they do geometry in their free time. I want to meet one person who says like, "Oh yeah, I just do some geometry in my free time. I finish up my math homework, then I do move on to some geometry. Then like I want to know."
Yeah, dude. I mean, I love math, but I never really did it without sort of some score associated with it in a educational environment. So yeah, I see that. Some people are crazy though. They really like it, and they have real world applications for the use of mathematics, which is rare in educational environments. But yeah, I mean, those people exist, dude. You just don't know them yet.
I guess I could see like if someone's like, "Oh, I really enjoy making like if someone was like an architect or really loved architecture just either way, and they were like, "Oh, I really love like getting everything like perfect." And they use math for all that stuff. That's like, all right, that makes sense. But I just imagine like, is there some guy who just fills out geometry textbooks, like just like answers all the questions and then moves on to a new math textbook, like, and is just doing it just because he likes to answer the questions, not like
Yeah,
for another application. Like, imagine that in your free time. That's like to me like what
yeah, yeah. That exists too.
man. I want to meet one of these people. I want to ask questions like what's going on here? How is this like I get it like, it's people like math. That's like, that's fine. That's great. But it's like if you're doing that in that's all you do in your free time. You're just filling out the math textbooks. I want to meet this person.
Yep. I mean, the same feeling you get from your hobbies, that's theirs.
But okay. I feel like there's got to be like an end point to like the like again like if you're using math to like you're creating something like as an engineer. Let's say that you wanted to like drop some sketches or some blueprints, and you're using math for that, or you're in the wood shop and you're like figuring out like the angle and how much you need to like build this thing. It's like these things are like stuff where it's like, oh yeah, I get that, that makes sense. But then you have the guy who's just filling out math textbooks. Like, okay, let me try to make a correlation to that. That's like if I what could I how could I make a parallel? That's like if I just like what could I like what with the piano or the guitar, like that's like if I just like started That's like if I, you know what? I actually got it. That's like if I did the same exact workbook over and over again. Like if I like some kind of like music book, right? And I just like I opened it and I just played the same thing over and over again. I I don't know. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people with a lot of different neurological makeups. So, I mean, like people on the autism spectrum may like to do that. Um, I think, yeah, I mean, ultimately, even if they're just doing all these math textbooks, it has benefits outside. It's like, that it helps you stay mentally sharp. And it will apply outside of that, even if they're not like doing mathematical applications in their work and otherwise. So, yeah, man. I mean, it's just there's a lot of different types of people. There's a lot of people today that had the best day of their life, and there's a lot of people that had the worst day of their life today. And they all exist within um, different human consciousnesses that experienced novel things in their own individual lives.
That's fair. That's fair. I don't mean anything like I don't mean a sleight of hand to anyone who's like working on their math textbooks for fun, and that's all. Like if that's all you like to do, that's like do that. That's great. Um, I'm I'm just no, I'm not. I was gonna say something stupid. I was gonna be like, well, no. Okay. Anyways, yeah, no. It's good. It's good that you. It's good that they do that. It's good.
Yeah, I mean, like, depending on, let's say there's 8 people that like write pretty consistently in their diaries, and 150 years from now, somebody discovers all 8 of these diaries, and and it says, like May 25th, 2015, and then they read the stories of one person, the first diary they discovered, and they're like, oh, like the world must have been pretty crazy in 2015. This person is contemplating suicide because um, of how they're afraid of technology. That must have been horrible. But they also discover 7 other different stories um, under the same circumstances um, of the same day in history. So there's a vast variety of experiences to be had in human life, and more so to be had in the future, depending on how humans decide and intend towards the future.
Yeah, no. Like people's personal stories. That's like I think that's really important that like everyone, you know, everyone like differences, you know what I mean? I think that's like imagine if we were all the same. That would suck. That would be the most boring world ever. That would be honestly, I don't even think society would be able to function. I think it would just die. It would implode.
Well, I mean, depends on what level you mean are all the same.
I guess I mean like just a cookie cutter. Everyone likes the same thing. Everyone does the same thing.
Don't we
Um,
do that? Doesn't everyone like to feel good and not like to feel bad?
those are like things that I think like people share in common. I'm talking about like if everyone had like the same interests, everyone like was good at the same exact things, everyone kind of like thought the same exact way, like their thought process was just cookie cutter, copy and paste. I think that would be pretty detrimental.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of different, I guess, Eastern philosophies and belief systems from various cultures that um, the foundational belief is that we are all made of the same stuff. Like we are all, um, humans, and all of the things in the world ultimately are made up of things that have been recycled from other things that they were in the past. And so, um, while we are all individuals and we all have different sort of desires and likes and attributes, that we are all part of the same kind of thing. So it really does depend, I believe, on how you look at it, saying it would be boring if we were all the same, because in some instances, that is the case.
Definitely. I don't think like there's every person is completely estranged from the other. I would say I more so think that the differences that are apparent, I think those are pretty important. I would say those are just as important as the commonalities that we have between one another, as just, humans in general.
Yeah, I think the differences often outshadow the similarities in modern culture.
Yeah, yeah. No, I definitely agree. It's it's a very like philosophical. I'm sure. I mean, I haven't taken a philosophy course on anything related to that. I've only taken a. It was called like, I can't remember the name of the class, but it had to do with like morals and basically how what was it? Oh my god, what was like the general term for the class? I guess it was like pleasure and like how people interpret like feeling good, I suppose, too, like happiness in general. Yeah, yeah. So like there's like hedonism, and then you have like different sectors of thought that like kind of decide um how that's interpreted from yourself, or if there's like a system that interprets it for you. Like hedonists believe that like you should just do what feels good, but then they also have like come up with different rules for like, oh, if you something more like vague, where like if someone's like a murderer or something and they like killing people, then there's a different rule for that it's like that's intrinsically bad for you because the result is something that's negative for you. So there's like stipulations within it. Um, but do you know what I'm talking about? Like that category of
Category of what?
um, I don't know if it's like a category of philosophical thought, but I guess it was just the name of the class. It just covered happiness and well being. Uh, in fact, actually, yes, that is the name of the class. It was Introduction to Happiness and Well Being, and yeah, it had to do with that. Just the different philosophical ideas that have sprung up in the field concerning those ideas.
Yeah, differing belief systems and their effect on the world. I think I don't know. I don't know how to continue the conversation about philosophy. I I think I think a lot of people are studying philosophy and wasting their time, um, only because they are deferring original thought. Um, they're deferring it to people that they think are greater minds than themselves.
I got a sense of that when I took, again, I've only taken one class, so I by far am I'm not someone who can comment on that. Not as much as someone like you that was your like degree full time, and other people who study it. Um, I I liked the idea of like the component that I liked about it, I guess, was interacting with other people's ideas that they've come up with, you know. Um, but I did notice in the paper that I had to write, it was kind of structured where you had to bring in other people's ideas already, and your own kind of couldn't stand on its own. It had to be based off of what somebody else said, you know, because you had to like provide evidence as you would in a paper. But in that context, you had to base your idea off of someone else's philosophical idea that they came up with. And so if you had something different and you wondered, how am I gonna like how am I gonna source this? Like how do I find somebody who has some similar tangent? I don't know. I found that kind of a weird element. Um,
You kind of found that a weird element. Was that like the end of your thought there?
yeah, I guess so. I yeah, I don't know. It might have just
Is
been the way the class was structured too. That could have been a part of it, but it definitely felt like it was more interacting with other people's ideas and then deciding if they were what valid points they had and what unvalid points they had, and that was kind of the bottom line, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, just I think a lot of people going into it are trying to they are questioning what's happening here in life, and then they're going to this structured way of studying how people in the past have conceptualized this experience. And there's new discoveries within philosophy. You know, each generation there's like different phases, and so depending on which phase you study, you accumulate certain propensities towards thought and scope of considerations for um, where your own thoughts and consciousness end up um, spending time on. And so it is kind of nice to have people in the past who have really thought out a lot of stuff. Um, but if you sit in other people's ideas for too long, then um, you aren't open to like new developments in your own synthesis of the information that you've acquired. And yeah, I mean that's a fundamental challenge of life and people in almost any industry is getting into a certain sector, becoming proficient in using the limited information that you have, um, and treating it as a complete whole picture of what is going on, um, and kind of falling into a stagnant position within your life's work.
Yeah, the interesting thing too. I mean, when people go off and try to use what they've learned, I mean that's the idea behind like school to begin with, is that you learn things and then you're supposed to apply that to a job somehow afterwards, and then somehow that is supposed to become how you survive, you know, how you make a living. um, Sometimes it's interesting that the information that you learn while you're going to school, sometimes you don't even use it. I've talked to people who have said that they don't even they use nothing that they learned during their degree. Everything that they learned was just through like either an internship or just launching right into work, and their job ended up being completely different than what they ended up learning before. So it's kind of crazy to me that there's I don't know. There's some disconnect there.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't directly use the content of their courses, but they definitely learned skills, life skills, throughout their studies of, number one, setting for a long-term goal and succeeding in that, and then also how you acquire um, knowledge and how to successfully learn new things and become proficient in them. That you learn that regardless of what you study.
I think so. There's definitely like good habits that are instilled, but I also think that it sometimes is limited in scope, and sometimes it's not all the habits are maybe necessarily a good thing. Some of them might just be reinforced habits that feed into how things have always operated, even if some of those things maybe are negative and could be improved upon. Um, it seems like sometimes some of those things are reflected in all of our institutions, like even like including like the university. You go there, and some of these things that you learn are really helpful and good, and I think everyone should like get an education, and regardless, like it would suck if you just learned about like a trade or something and you didn't learn like proficient reading, writing, um, and analysis skills to be able to actually like decipher information and do other important things. But I think there are some elements that sometimes are either not helpful or can even be damaging at the same time.
So we're gonna need some examples. That's a strong position to have without any examples.
I think like there's a lot of like really specific examples that I could think of. Maybe I would say that even like how our job market kind of operates, and that connection from like you go to university and then you move on and you do this job and you're supposed to find it yourself theoretically, or you do an internship through the school. I know plenty of people who weren't able to find those. So sometimes that even doesn't really work out. Or they offer you something that is like working minimum wage at Disneyland or something weird like that. And someone got their degree in like communications and they try to do. I
So
mean,
what's the example?
so the example is like the disconnect between universities basically saying that like you can do whatever you want and basically study to your heart's content, rack up as much student loans as you want to, keep going, keep going. The American dream is still alive. And then there's the reality of going into the job market, which is not constructive at all, or even made up of a form that's able to, bring somebody in naturally. It's supposed to be that you find the job. But if that system is currently broken or it's going through a phase of stagnation, all of a sudden, um, that connection doesn't exist, and the opportunities of plenty become the opportunities of possibly nothing in that moment in time. So I just think that like I think that disconnect from I guess going to
That has nothing to
university.
do with the habits that you learn in a university that might be detrimental to you in a job type situation.
I think that would go in the category of the lack of information. But then there's certain aspects where they try and like prepare you for a job at a company to certain extents, certain like things like deadlines and stuff like that. And I would argue that some of those modes of uh, productivity are even ineffective. But that would be discussing the whole framework of the economy and how different companies work. I mean, even like looking at different companies in different countries, they operate differently. McDonald's has even passed, just by being a multinational, has passed their traits of how they run their company onto the society that's around them. You see that happening in where they move in China, Europe. They take that with them, their mode of production, and it spreads to the society.
Okay,
But
but I haven't still heard you give an example of something you're learning in college that hurts you in when you're working at a job.
Well, what I'm saying is that the deadline structure that is basically used to kind of get you into that mode of how a certain company might work. Like even like it's baked into, again, the similarities between a university and a McDonald's. There's parallels that could be made in how they operate, how they how the means of production operate within that kind of system, and how the controls of labor are kind of, uh, how they go about controlling labor. Labor is controlled, in every country. That it's a natural function, but how it's controlled, and I see
You're
that.
talking about labor being controlled in a university?
Well, yeah, I would say there's a direct parallel to even like somebody working in a company. There's certain parallels that can be made to how it is when you're working at a university, because some of the structures of like
Working at a
deadlines.
university, so like an instructor at a like a professor or something.
I would say yes. I would say a university, but more than that, a university is structured as a business to the students as well. Like to the students, I would say it's almost applicable to working at a business, except the practices are slightly different. The deadline structure is one parallel I would make. Another parallel is payment systems, how that tends to work. Um, I think that there's certain things that try to make that parallel, and then there's other things that simply don't make that parallel. But I do think that operating universities as a business is a bad idea. I don't think we should strengthen that, in my opinion. I think that some of those, some of the faulty structures in that don't allow it to actually go outside of specific job markets. It can't even like determine somebody who is working, as a contractor, a private contractor. It can't really incorporate all these things into the structure of the school because it is designed to simply put people into the job market, but not necessarily help them any further. An internship is the largest hand that you will be given
Well, what more
if
do
you're
you
lucky
want from
enough.
the university? What are they supposed to do? They're supposed to just, if you complete this, you get a job for free. I mean, what about the people who are barely passing their university courses? They barely make it through. Do they deserve to have a job, even though they have been proven through the university courses that they're incompetent?
I know people who passed with C's in their classes, and they still passed. And jobs don't look at the grade report when they hire people. I
Well,
think that.
if you have a good GPA, you put it on your resume.
Yeah, yeah, but it's not necessarily like it's not something that employers really look for. They're looking for like work experience is hugely important to them now. There's a different like weight system for what they're trying to find. Um,
But I don't
and
know what you want from the schools, and I still don't know what they're teaching you that's gonna fuck you up in the job market.
I mainly think it's how they're designed, I suppose. I think that they're again I think the structure of trying to figure out a specialization to put you into, while not providing ample opportunity um, with that specialization that they're trying to provide you. I think that is the problem. I think there's not enough assist in getting people into the job market and into specific sectors that are right for them. It's not right. It's not able to actually help people decide what they want to do and find what specializations they're really good at. And I think that's a huge problem. And I think it's more of a profit motive, and it's more run like a business in that way. And I think that's kind of messed up that such an integral institution in our society is being run like a business rather than an actual uh, an actual fundamental institution that influences people's lives and educates them, puts them into the job market, tells them supposedly what they're going to be doing and what they should learn and perhaps what they like. Um, I don't know. I would prefer to see something that's a little bit more um, resourceful.
So you want the schools to uh, help people figure out what they're good at?
I think that's one of the steps. I mean, that's one of
I
the
mean, don't
things.
they have like guidance counselors? Don't they have different opportunities? I mean, what are they gonna do for a student to help them figure out what they're good at, aside from have a core curriculum that is casts a wide net of all the things you're exposed to. You know, like the core classes, the first 2 years of a college curriculum is people are taking a lot of the same classes because they have to fulfill the requirements. But what the requirements do is it makes you get exposed to a lot of different industries and a lot of different fields. So I mean, I don't know what you want besides perhaps like more engagement with the college counseling individuals, or maybe some more sort of exploratory courses, or a class that you take that walks you through all of the different things you can get into. I don't know, like some people will not in their university time find something that they like. And I don't know if you can expect that from each person.
I think I can expect like as something that is so fundamental in, I mean, not just historically but across the globe. I would say overall my statement is I don't want to be sold my degree. I want to be um, guided through my degree.
Sold on the basis of what?
I don't want to be buying a product when I'm talking about like guiding the rest of my life and what I'm going to be learning and what I might be doing for the rest of my life too. I don't want to buy the ticket to that. Like I think not only that, but like being sold whatever you might want to do and then not knowing what you're going to do and going into this. It's like walking into a store not knowing what you want to buy, and basically you're encouraged to buy a little bit of everything and continue to buy a little bit of everything. uh I don't know, I think that system in itself is kind of messed up. And I think that it's strange that uh the motives behind that sort of system might not even be able to change with the times or be able to tell what's going on around it and say we need to structurally keep up with things so that the people who come out of this institution are able to actually thrive um, in like a job market, you know?
Yeah, but it sounds like you're asking the universities to be able to tell the future and be all knowing.
No, I'm just saying like allowing for such changes and not being quite as strict. Um, I think that running a university like a McDonald's, uh, I think that's a bad idea.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say the universities are ran like McDonald's.
That's fair. That's fair.
I mean, what do you? I mean, what can you ask for of a place to house individuals who are coming from various different walks of life, who do not have fully developed brains? How are you going to ask people who are not educated themselves on um, human interaction? Um, they are trained in their very specialized. They've gone to PhD programs where all they've done is study, and they don't know that much about 18 to 21-year-old people. So, I mean, what are you expecting from people who don't know about people and who are focused solely on subjects, and how to educate the people that come to their respective disciplines? How are you going to expect them to, number one, like interact with people who are in quite a, hmm, they are in a period of their life that is quite scattered, just generally speaking about, changing the way they're relating to the families that they came from, finding new identities, all this stuff that occurs within college that cannot be, that is just going to be crazy regardless. So the fact that it is this period of their life, the fact that people do come to the university with a lot of different intentions, and some of them are not to learn, or some of them are not to get into certain job markets. People have different things they're coming with, and the people that are housing the different classrooms and conversations, they are not trained in the interactions with these people. They are trained in their respective fields, and then they show up in this place because this is their own, this is their job. It's not an they are not a part of some entity, some large group of individuals that collectively have the same beliefs. They're an individual with their own family, their own life, their own things that they care about, and they've been hired to do this one job: take information, make it easily accessible to the people. And only about half of them are going to be fully interested in digesting that information for any use later.
I agree with that. I don't think I don't associate the people who are just doing their jobs with the weight of being the system as a whole that is conducting the different functions that institution is supposed to conduct. I think that I mean I have a great respect for like many professors that I've had, um, and I mean the people that keep schools operating. My problem isn't with the people that work within the institution. It's just how the institution operates itself. And I'm not even saying that I think it's not like it needs to be like scrapped or anything, like the whole idea of it. I'm just saying there's improvements that can be made. And I think that the way it's currently run just it limits further functionability, and it limits the functions that it can provide to the mass public as a whole. I mean, this is like, I guess more. I guess this all kind of falls under politics, but even like the fact that a lot of people will never get to go to university in the first place, and pay to play kind of systems where a lot of people at Harvard, they just paid to get their kids in, even if they had shitty grades throughout high school. They get a free ticket, where someone else either has to cheat to get in, either has to
I'd like
do
to know about
extremely well.
I'd like to see the actual facts on that. I've not heard of people with low grades paying to get into Harvard. I've not heard of that.
It happens a lot with very wealthy families. There was a scandal recently with she was a
Is it more or
celebrity
less than
too.
5% of the students though? It's like a small number, right?
No, it's a pretty big portion. I can't remember the exact statistic, but there's a lot of people who pay to go to Harvard, Yale, and not to mention people who are grandfathered in. So if their parents went, there's a higher likelihood that they'll be able to go as well. And
That's different. You're saying people are paying people illegally to get them in the universities, or what
well,
are you saying?
sometimes it's not even necessarily illegal. Sometimes it's paying for a building. You get your name put up on the building. It's a institution of power that can be used, to ensure the continued success of your children as well. Especially like with a very prized institution such as that, and that can happen both illegally and legally. If you're less, prominent of a figure, um, like what happened with again, I can't remember her name, the celebrity. But and I feel bad for her daughters because I mean it was extremely humiliating. But they basically tried to kind of cheat their way to get her into the school, and it ended up getting exposed. And I mean, that's a huge humiliation, but that happens on all levels. It really depends on if you're able to get away with it or if you're not able to get away with it. And then you have the legal version of it, which is basically donating to the school, being a big financer.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I mean, welcome to capitalism 101. I mean, what do you want a school to do when they rely on this money? I mean,
Well, it's run like a business. That's
but
really
I mean,
what.
what isn't run like a business?
Yeah, wait. I mean, there's everything essentially. I suppose you could say that, but there's certain like institutions that theoretically aren't supposed to be run like a business, and
Like
that's
what?
where, well, like even like any government program, like if you think about like the fire station, or isn't like run as a, is not it's not keeping track of like earnings and saying we need to make this profit projection, or we need to ensure that we're balancing it like this. It's a paid program, you know. And I think that like a university, just like a high school or an elementary school, a part of the public program, I think there's something that is missing there. The fact that it's not a service to the people. It's not operating in that. It's partially does, but it doesn't necessarily completely and wholeheartedly operate in that capacity. And I think that's one of my biggest problems with it. If I had to summarize everything into one package,
If you just summarize one package, it would be what?
it would be that it doesn't operate as a institution that's wholeheartedly meant to service the people and service the populace as a whole. I think that's my problem with it, and I feel like um, there's
Yeah, I mean,
there's
dude, I
motives
mean,
that aren't.
some of the only ways that a lot of these schools make money is because they have incredible sports teams that have deals with national television companies, and like there is so much money to be made and to be had at universities through research, through athletics, through certain people who graduated from universities and have had prominent careers in the respective disciplines. I mean, the whole thing of a university, the reason that they can perpetually move through time as 50 and 100 years is because they continue to not only produce effective people in the workplace, something that does not happen for everybody, but if they're not producing people that are doing successful things and therefore having their children end up coming to the university or donating to the university, if they're not having those types of successes, then they are no longer bringing in money to that school. So because the university is nationally recognized as opposed to the lower levels of education, and because the amount of financial just finances coming in and out of the institution, it is more closely linked to it has a stronger link to um, capitalistic forces. And so unless you have private universities that don't have uh, national recognition, then I don't know how you're going to do anything locally within each individual school um, without changing the larger structure of financial system in the nationwide.
I I think there's other countries that they do it a different way, and they still have like um the whole world runs off of capitalism, but there's different forms of it. In socialist countries, they might treat their universities a little bit different, more as a public institution rather than a private institution. Um, but I think my one of the key problems that I see is when a university that's a public institution starts getting run like a business. Um, to me, something doesn't add up there, because that is supposed to be in the public sector, and theoretically, it's supposed to be built on what's best for the public, what's best for the people who live in that community, who are coming from somewhere else to learn, to advance themselves into into a mode of productivity where they're going to use that to survive for the rest of their life. I think it's so important that I wish it was operated in that way more, just in the interest of the general public, and that was it. That was the bottom line, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I wish that too, man.
I don't even know how like how someone would go about fixing it. Like I can't even say. I don't even know like I know what I don't like about it, I suppose, and I know where I wish I could see it go. Where I wish I could see it go. I don't even know how it would get there. I know that I believe in free education for for anybody, you know, anyone, but again, other than that, I have no idea how um especially some of the deep, you know, institutional ways that it operates and the way things are financed. I have no idea how we'd turn that into something that could just be a public good in itself. I really don't know.
I mean, I think there's plenty of good things at universities too. I mean, it's not that bad. I mean, I don't know how much your personal experience colors what your belief is. But I mean, a lot of people are learning stuff that's going to be immediately useful for them when they leave school, and if not that, they learn valuable skills, and if not that, they make valuable connections with other students and people at the universities that allow them to get into positions where they can find ways to be successful and develop a career that supports them financially and also is fulfilling.
I agree. Yeah, I don't think that I want to make sure that I'm clear too. I don't think that like universities are a waste or are bad. I very like I valued the time that I've had. I've definitely gained a lot of skills and learned a lot. Um I'm just not completely satisfied with it. Um but I don't think it's a waste of an experience. I would say that certain aspects of it can be and feel like it. But I'm not saying that universities are like that they're garbage or anything like, and just avoid them completely. I think it's very valuable, but that's why I think I care so much is because of the value that I see in it and what's not, what it's missing, you know?
Yeah, maybe that's something you would get involved with.
Maybe I don't know. Yeah,
Maybe you don't know.
yeah, I don't know. I think I was just gonna make a joke. I was gonna realize it's too much. You can't have the guy like who's smelling people, smelling people's foods, knocking on people's doors, and asking to go sit down and have a meal with them. You know, you can't have that guy. Got to get him out of here. So.
Can't have that guy staying around at schools, or what are you saying?
No, you can't have that guy messing around with like the system. You know, you gotta keep him away from the system. You know, he's knocking on people's doors. He's trying to sit down at their table and eat their food. Got to get that guy out of here, as far
But
away.
you know better than to do that, so they would have no idea that that was you.
Maybe, maybe you never know. Maybe they'll find one of these clips. They'll find the what did I say last episode? There's something else too. They'd probably just be like, we gotta get this guy out of here. Like he's complaining about like people breaking into his house and like breaking his stuff and like you're ruining
Yeah,
it.
dude, but
Like it's like you'd be
I
like,
mean, how serious are you about that?
no, I'm just joking. Of course, I'm just joking. Um, but
But
I mean
seriously,
I
if you
just
don't
think
like it, do something about it, man. I mean, there's at least enough stuff at the university you're at to learn who's actually doing stuff and ask them questions.
That's when you'll turn on the
Those people,
news
dude,
and
those people exist. Like literally, there's hundreds of people at the university that are doing important things at the university that have influence that would be happy to have a student walk through their doors and ask them questions about what's going on.
no, that's true. That's true. I could become more active. I don't know if you'd call that being politically active. I guess I don't know. Uh, yeah, I guess I could be. It's activism in some form, you know. I don't know. I don't know though. I don't like. I don't know how to describe it. I don't know if I'm ready. I guess that's what I would say. I don't know if I'm ready to take on something like that right now.
Just
But
asking questions.
no, not asking questions. That that's another thing too. I feel like
Pretty
I don't
easy
want to
to
do
do.
something with it though. Like I guess like I'd learn for myself in that way, but at the same time, I don't know. I feel like I'd
So you're
want
just
to.
so you're just sitting at your desk and you're just smashing you're having a temper tantrum. I hate the school system, and then you just sit there and then you're like, oh, it's time to go to sleep.
I mean, I guess like I wouldn't say I'm that like I'm not like thinking about this like 24 hours a day. You know, I'm not like sitting here like I hate it. I hate everything. I'm not like I'm just like I'm just listing off my complaints. And I suppose I think that some things, if I'm gonna be really pessimistic, if I'm gonna be really pessimistic, I would say that I don't necessarily believe that one person alone can change things necessarily. Um, Maybe
Hey,
that's a
well, if
piece.
you would learn more about what was happening and you'd have a more refined position, not necessarily doing anything about it. But that's my recommendation. Ask to have a meeting with an administrator of your school and have them tell you what they think is important and see what the fuck they even say, dude. They might have the same opinion as you, but they might have more resources. They might have ways for you to get involved on the campus. Dude, I mean, there's a lot of crazy stuff happening on the campus that I'm sure you do not know of yet.
Yeah, no,
And
so
you might even learn you might even find a way to get what you want out of the university even though it's not providing it for you. You're finding it. It might be there. You just have not reached out to it yet.
I definitely agree. And I mean, all my ideas aren't my own either. It's not like uh, I, what I've, my opinion, I guess, on that, it's formed through my own observation, hearing other people's opinions, and a mix of that. And I agree doing that like further and asking more questions. I guess like the getting involved factor. It sounds so bad, but I guess like it's like deciding if you have like the time to launch into activism. Um, you know what I mean? Like even if like there's things going around you that you can participate in to try and help change things. Um, yeah, trying to figure out if you got the time for it. That can be kind of a hard one sometimes.
A time to email an administrator and have a 20-minute conversation with them.
Not necessarily that, no, but I guess like when you add the part about like then like taking part in you know in actual like what you call that, activism, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wh-
we'll say no if you get called to activism, but you don't know what these conversations will lead to.
yeah, that's a good point too.
Dude, I mean all these people, all your professors, all the administrators, if you get to know them, this is the next topic which can only last for a few more minutes, but if you become friends with them, they will help you succeed in life.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I'm not like I'm not like in on bad terms with like all of my professors. I don't like tell them like I hate it here. Like
But
because
you
I
have to go
don't.
to their office hours. Are you doing that?
I have before actually for the class that I took. It was mainly because I needed help. So it wasn't like a friendly visit. I just like I don't know. I have like I remember actually I did get a recommendation from one of my professors from Bellevue College. So again, I'm saying that like it's not like I'm on bad terms with my professors, or it's not like I dislike the staff, or I dislike the school. I don't dislike the school. I'm not like raging against the machine so much that everything I'm one of those everything sucks types of
I
people.
know, but I said
I
moving on from that. It's a new topic. It's literally like forget everything that we were talking about before. I've been in school in outside of high school, past high school. I've been in school for 7.5 years, and I'm telling you stuff that I didn't know when I was 24.
yeah, I I I don't know. I understand it's important to like upkeep relations. I think like it depends on the professor too. You got to find the ones that are willing to like um because you'll get a mixed bunch, and not all of them are going to be interested in going the extra mile to necessarily help, like I suppose mentor somebody. But funny story actually. I remember um at this was at back at Bellevue College, but I had I really was into creative writing classes. I really liked those. And my music classes, like those probably were what I took the most English and the most music, getting my associates. Just I guess my basic credits. And those were my free credits, so I chose those. And I remember there was a creative writing class that I took, and I had a professor for that. And I think it was the next quarter after that. I didn't have her as a professor anymore, but I was submitting short stories to a magazine that worked with the school, and I sent her one to just be like, "Hey, can you like take a look at this for me?" And she just never responded.
Yeah, well, I mean, I really do have to go now.
But I get it too. I get why I get why she did too. I mean, like I'm almost thinking to myself, I'm like, if I got like too many of those, and I was a professor, I'd
Yeah,
probably do.
dude, I mean,
like,
you do whatever you want in your university experience. Um, that's my recommendation. Go sit down with some people and tell them what challenges you're having and what ask them just for advice on how what should I do in this situation. That's my advice. Thanks for all the listeners out there.
indeed, indeed.
Go on Spotify, Doctor JJ. Listen to the album. Um, yeah.